What's up everyone, I'm Louis and it's my mission to aid your awakening. And yes, it's a fresh trim, a very fresh trim. Like the video instantly right now if you rate the trim as well. And if you're an attractive female yoga instructor, feel free to slide in the DMs. Instagram just under here, I'm just joking guys. But today is going to be more of a fun video. Instead of me teaching you guys something and therefore myself something by introducing an idea, a concept, a phase, talking about a part of awakening, I'm actually going to be telling my story today of probably my most intense spiritual, mystical experience from my whole awakening experience since the age of starting early in my 18th year of my life, coming in now, which has been over 4 years and counting, my awakening journey. And this is probably the singular most intense experience. It's my personal Kundalini experience, the Kundalini awakening, I would say, the rising of the Shakti energy, the opening of my chakras, which took place back in, I was 19 at the time, it took place back in around May 2017 this happened. I'm not going to bore you with all the details of how I first got into spiritual, how I was interested in spirituality and various Eastern religions. That all took place a long time ago. I was 14 when I first got really interested in Buddhism and Hinduism. And 16 when I first started to meditate, and also 16 when I had some of my first experience with psychoactive substances, psychedelics. So these all heavily contributed to my interest and my fascination in spirituality, spiritual things, and questioning what life was all about, what the ego was, exploring what spirit and soul is, and these kind of concepts, the kind of spiritual concepts I talk about in a lot of my other videos. But today we're going to focus exclusively on my Kundalini awakening experience. And the story starts about 5 to 6 months before I had this experience on this one day in May. And it starts quite a way back to when I was going through a hard time at university. And the reason I was going through a hard time at university, I had a death in the family, my parents splitting up, I had difficulties with the first girl I was sort of seeing, and that ended badly. I was missing home a lot. First proper time me being independent. I was struggling with dealing with things. I was living a very, very unhealthy party lifestyle, right? And very off balance, off kilter. But yet I was still having very strange, peculiar sort of events happening in between that. Events such as one day I was with my friend and we walked outside and suddenly I felt a huge rush up my back, similar to what they talk about when the Kundalini rises, and I felt like I was floating all afternoon. I felt this ecstatic state for no apparent reason, completely sober. And the colours started to change, the colours in the sky began to shift, and I was just taken like complete feeling of exaltation. And the person I was with as well, she was saying, oh my god, I feel amazing as well. She sort of felt it off me in a way. We both sort of had this strange, peculiar experience happen completely randomly. And I had a few more things like this, and I actually I began to research it. And just as I began to research the negative things I was experiencing, and the number patterns, and the strange physical symptoms, I've got a video upcoming on physical symptoms, I might shoot it today actually, experiencing these strange physical symptoms of my body as well. So I had a few peculiar experiences like that. And around springtime I first tried consuming magical champignons. If you don't know what champignons is, check out the French meaning. And that was incredible. Yeah, that was an amazing experience. And I remember wanting to do them again because at the time I was cutting myself off. I was beginning my hermit phase. I was sort of, quite in a spiritual depression, in a void-like state. I talked about it with my friend a lot. I was in a very void-like place. I felt like everything had opened up. I'd lost a lot. I was letting go of so much, and I was scared about letting go. I didn't realize it was part of a process at the time. I thought I was just completely losing my identity and feeling very lost. I was very lost. I was cutting myself off, isolating myself. Difficult time, as well as getting over all the negative events, the events that happened a few months before that. So it was just a tough time. It was a really tough time. And but trying the magical champignons kind of helped me a lot. And where'd I go with this? And I began taking them very regularly, having them very regularly, and feeling like I was cured for a while after having them. And there was one occasion I took them and I wandered around the city actually before that, that was one of the first few times I took it as well. I was at the same time of starting to have a fascination with magical champignons. I started to have a real fascination with Kundalini and trying to raise Kundalini. Now I talked about this in my spiritual ego video. One of the reasons I wanted to raise Kundalini energy wasn't just to be enlightened, to help other people and to make the world a better place. I wanted more power for myself. I wanted to have more abilities myself. I wanted to feel more powerful person. I wanted to have more capabilities, be able to be very in tune with people, be able to flow everywhere I go, be in a state of flow, be in a state of being able to intuitively understand, empathize with other people, but sort of read their minds as well. I wanted these additional benefits. I wanted to heal myself inwards so I look better as well, become more attractive. There were lots of reasons that are very selfish. And across the course of your awakening, like I talked about in that spiritual ego video, you have to come face with the root of these wants. Why did I want to feel like that? Because there was something deep down that felt like it was missing from my life, and so I wanted to supplement it with this. I didn't just want to be better, which is fine to be a better person. I wanted to be better than other people. So that was the ego taking over, and the ego led me also to discover Kundalini energy. Now, whether it was my ego, where I was destined to find this stuff, I don't know, but I had to deal with the consequences of wanting that and coming into it with the bad and the selfish intentions. So I came in it with the selfish intentions, and I had to deal with that later on, and that led me to a very negative experience. And maybe if you guys are waking up and you don't have such negative intentions, or you know, at least from what I'm saying, that you have to deal with that, and don't let that be the main motivator of you waking up and getting into spirituality. That could save you a lot of harm and a lot of pain that you have to cure and heal to get to the next stage of your awakening. So I was really interested in Kundalini energy, and what I did, I found I was going deep onto all these websites, deep in the internet, trying to find more and more about it, because it was just fascinating to me. And I suddenly, through all this discovery, I realized that I was going through a dark night of the soul. As my spiritual depression, the hermit phase, it was like a dark night of the soul. Another topic I'm going to do a video on soon, where I was realizing this is just a really painful experience now because I'm waking up. It's actually leading to something better. So that was great. Discovering all that was great. So and I tried to raise Kundalini because I thought that could get me out of this negative experience. And what I did was I did Sanskrit chants. Things like, not just, we obviously know it's very common, the Om, very common. But there's actually a different chant for every single chakra. So I focused very heavily, I'd meditate deeply, I'd spend a long amount of time because I was spending so much time on my own. I spent nearly half my day focusing on meditating and raising Kundalini energy. So I'd focus on the root chakra and try and bring it up to the other chakras, try and burst open these other chakras. Now meanwhile I was doing these chants, I was feeling very peculiar during the day. My vision had shifted, I was starting to almost have day-to-day hallucinations. Bear in mind I was completely sober at this time as well. I struggled to read words. I struggled to read because words would be moving about on the page. It was just very intense. I was full of very intense energy. You could say this is the Kundalini energy, right? I hadn't prepared my vessel. They say when you're doing Kundalini, you must prepare your vessel for such an intense influx of energy. You're opening up all this energy that's been dormant in you for all your life. And you're bringing it up again, just like you had when you were a child, because they say the child has opened with Kundalini energy for the first 2 months of its life before it goes down and settles and becomes dormant at the base of the spine. So this is happening to me, and so I tried to activate it, and I had a magical champignon experience where I was walking along with my friend. He was, he was completely sober at the time, but we were walking along, and I remember feeling very intently them opening up in my back, something rising in my back. I was like, could this be it? And it felt it come all the way up my back. It was like crawling up the top of my spine there. And as it got to my neck, I felt a click, a massive click. It was like, puh, like an opening of air. Now previously, and you probably won't know this or you couldn't tell this from all my videos, but I've always been a very mumbly kind of person. I've had very restricting, closed down in my throat, talk like that a lot, and like yeah, or sort of put on more of a deeper voice, thinking that was more masculine or whatever. So there's insecurity there, there's trapped emotion there, and when that opened up, I was like, I could breathe so much better. And what this whole experience does, this is similar to what's going to happen on your awakening. You're releasing trauma and you're opening yourself up, you're opening your system up, and you can flow more easily. You can stay in a positive and a higher vibration easier, and you can also be able to learn the art of expressing yourself very well. And this was an opening for me. I was like, wow, I can breathe, I can speak it's open. I can sing and be very loud and clear. That was good. But as soon as I clicked like that, my friend had it as well. He was like, I felt something as well. It's such powerful energy. Your auric field is expanding. And I felt this pop in my throat. And it was because I was opening up, because the snake was rising. Now, the thing is about experiences like with substances like magical champignons, is that there is a temporary rise of the serpent energy. Many gurus will say this. It's a rise. It's only a temporary experience of the raised Kundalini. You'll feel up your spine. You can even have it on various other psychoactive chemicals. You can feel this release. You can feel this because we have a lot of tension knotted at the back of our spines, where most of our ego, they say, our ego is held in the body at the root of the spine. When you open this up, it's powerful. It releases a lot of what's held, and you are now you're opening up to a wider range of awareness. Just like you do as you're waking up naturally, you experience more of your awareness. Your lens to which you viewed the earth through, the lens for which you previously viewed the world, opens up as well. So that happened to me. So I opened up. My friend was like, oh my goodness. And I went back to my room and said, well, I need to be alone now. I need to be alone. So I went back to my room and then just lay there, and I felt it come up. I felt my third eye open. Everything just felt like open. I felt ecstatic. It felt incredible. I was like, this is it. Guys, later on it went away, as everything does, as these temporary substances do, but it gives you a glimpse. I thought, I need to get that. I need to re-find that. Sooner or later, I had magic champignons again, a week or two later, I think 2 weeks later. And this time, it was different. This time I was walking around town. I had a bike, I was going around town. I finally felt different. I felt murky. It didn't feel like a nice experience. I said, okay, I need to be away from people. I need to go out, go somewhere more natural. So I went out to a field. And it was very intense. It was knotting. It felt like something was crawling inside me. And it felt very difficult, very tense. And I wasn't enjoying it at all. So I thought, oh, I've got to lay down and surrender to this. Just let it pass. Don't be resistant. So I lay down, and suddenly I felt something move. And it was like before, it was starting to climb up again. There was a cloudy day at the time, and I'm not even joking here. I was lying back, and the clouds literally parted, and the sun hit the top of my head. Sun hit my head, and I suddenly knew there was a God. It was an unexplainable certainty that I can't put into words and I can't frame into a full thought. But I just knew that there was a God. Knew that the God was there at that time through the sun. The sun hit my head, and I bolted up. I felt a huge charge of energy, sudden charge of energy. I ran a few paces, then sank onto my knees. By this time, the sky had opened up completely, and I literally felt the energy shoot up to the top of my head. Whereas previously before, it stayed at the top of my head, or it had gone around the top of my head, so it felt like it was squeezing my brain. They call that the coils, when the serpent energy comes up, but it doesn't quite open. It's sort of just risen to the top of your head and sort of stays there. That's what had previously happened, but this time, it hadn't reached the top of the head and shone out my third eye as well, which also can happen, where you have a blissful experience. Wow, you're opened up. The serpent's open. This time the energy just exploded out my head. I'm not even joking. I thought I'd died. I thought my whole existence had been wiped away from the universe. I thought that was it. I'd never existed. In those few seconds where the energy came up and blew out my head, I felt like fragments of my skull had been sent flying. My skull had literally been obliterated from the inside by this energy. I felt it just explode. And this explosion, for a few seconds, I thought I'd never existed. I was so certain that I've never ever existed. And I'm not joking now when I say things have. It's hard to say, because my life is so good now. My life is so good, and everything's stabilized. Everything since this day is stabilized, and life is better than it's ever been for me now. I feel like there's possibilities. I'm open to all the possibilities of life. There is abundance everywhere, but life has not been the same since. Since that explosion, I felt like you'll experience this as you wake up. Your awareness begins to expand. And maybe you've been through this years before I have, and you're over this, and you didn't notice much of a shift at the time. But for me, there was a huge shift in that my awareness was opening up. But after this event, my awareness was forever opened up, and there's no way I could ever squeeze my awareness down or closed myself off now. I was forever opened up, and I felt that at the time. And as soon as this happened, I got to my feet, sort of shell-shocked, feeling a bit traumatized, because this was so intense. I've never experienced anything like it. It was so intense. I got to my feet and I was walking, and the whole world seemed alien, and colours seemed murky and different. For some reason I was blue. There was colours of blue and purple everywhere, just reflecting off. It was like stars were just twinkling around as well. It was so bizarre. I mean, some people have experienced this. I think I read something similar from one of my YouTube inspirations, Victor Odo. He had a similar experience where he had this like explosion of energy, right? And he sees that as the starting point for his Kundalini experience. For months and months, I don't think I was ready for it. I don't know how I got through those months. Everything was so intense. Luckily, I have an amazing, supportive family, and I was able to sort of be with them and I have very close friends that I could feel safe around. I feel for anyone that feels quite alone as they have gone through an experience this intense. So I had to spend a few months just sort of recuperating, getting everything together. I was scared at the time. I thought I was very scared of it. But now I realise it's an absolute blessing that happened. That explosion had put me in touch with higher guidance. I felt connected to the universe now. I feel lighter inside myself and just clear. Ultimately clear. But it's almost like you have to be exploded. You have to have something so intense to be able to wipe away what's getting in your way. But yeah, ever since my awareness is so much that it's hard to visualize myself from a third person perspective, which I was always doing for the rest of my life. Earlier in my life, I was always perceiving myself from someone else's perspective. Now I feel like I'm occupying a larger space of being. So whatever's in front of me, I can just focus on. I don't second guess it. I can just be with things. Like whatever in front of me, I can just be with. So it's given me a much greater state of presence. I feel like I embody now a state of presence. That monologue forever went away. I never have a voice in my head since that day. But yeah, every time I seem to tell this story, I've told it to many people, as you can imagine. It changes slightly, and I have a different perspective on what I had when I had it before. After it happened, a few weeks later, I was very panicky and I said, "Oh no, what's going on?" Researching it. But it's often the harder experiences that you feel when you go along this journey, the most obscure, bizarre and intense experiences that you actually find out are more related to the spiritual aspects of it than any sort of mental health symptom or label you can give it. That's my piece. But ever since then, I've never touched psychoactive substances again. I would be interested in doing ayahuasca, and I'm sure I'd have an even more intense experience than ayahuasca. And I no doubt share that on this channel one day. That's what I'm definitely interested in experiencing at least once in my life. But I haven't felt the need to have anything, because ever since then it feels like my life is like a trip. And I do believe that. Life is like a trip. If you go along with it, if you trust, if you have faith, you'll have a good trip. If you fight it, if you resist, if you don't follow your heart, your intuition, then you won't know what's on the other side. You've got to experience the other side. Life is a trip. And for me, everything is so entertaining. I feel like I'm high. I feel like if anything, taking drugs would lower my state. Whereas I'm already high, I'm already receiving so much. And it is like life is a trip. That's what I deeply, deeply believe. But that is my Kundalini explosion, at least. And since having that experience, my interest in Kundalini sort of went away, because I felt like, and I read something somewhere which is really powerful. It said that you are now the energy. You're no longer a person that's raising Kundalini. You just are that Kundalini energy. That Kundalini energy wants to express itself. And once you start to identify with the energy, you're not a person that's being attacked with the energy, or you're not being a person that's having all these blockages, energy blockages. You are the energy. So the only blockage is the ego you're perceiving. You're the ego you're perceiving as being blocked, which is kind of powerful. But this energy wants to express, wants to grow you and make this world a better place. It's innately healing energy. And as soon as you can realize that, then you flip it upside down and everything's positive, ultimately. Woo! 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 Powerful story. But it's been over 3 years now since this happened. And every single year, I'm more certain and more sure that was maybe one of the biggest blessings that's ever happened to me. So in the name of that, blessings, guys. Thank you. If you want more stories from me, just go ahead and ask. Just drop me a message. Comment, let me know if you want to hear more. of my past experiences. Some very bizarre stuff has happened altogether with that, along with other personal development related stuff, not so much to do with spirituality. But if you want to hear more, let me know. And you drop me a message on Instagram. I'll put the tag here. I reply to any DMs that are spiritual, personal development related. Any questions you might have, I'll try and reply to everyone. That's my guarantee. And post daily content, daily stories, things like that. So little nuggets of information. That's all for me, guys. Blessings, blessings, blessings. Raise that Kundalini. Goodbye.